the presentation and view of homosexuality in the Roman world was drastically different than it is today. It demonstrates how homosexuality has been inextricably linked with communications of power and authority in antiquity. Because the Latin language lacks a term for either heterosexual or homosexual, partners in a sexual relationship would be presented as either active, synonymous with masculinity, or passive, and thus feminine, regardless of the gender of the people involved. As freeborn male Romans had the civil liberty to engage in whatever sexual activity they desired, the idea of a Roman man engaging in homosexual sex was not controversial to the Romans, as long as certain parameters were met. Conquest and dominance were profoundly ingrained as desirable masculine characteristics in Roman society. As a result, men were free to participate in homosexual relationships as long as they were the active partner with penetrating power, and the submissive partner was regarded as lower in society than them. A free Roman man, for example, would not face discrimination if he engaged in sexual activity with a male slave, former slave, prostitute, or actor, but coitus with another man of the same social class would be forbidden, because being penetrated as a male was seen to encroach on a man's integrity and compromise his status. However, free Roman boys and young men were strictly off-limits. In essence, class and status as markers of social difference were far more significant than gender in deciding the viability of a sexual partner. We see numerous reports of Roman emperors engaging in such relationships, the most famous being the relationship between Emperor Hadrian and the Greek youth, Antinous. Hadrian encountered the 13-year-old Antinous while on a tour of the provinces. The two are said to have had a pederastic relationship until Antinous drowned in the Nile at the age of 20. Hadrian was so affected by this loss that he deified Antinous and established a cult dedicated to his worship throughout the empire. As well as Hadrian, we hear of Emperor Titus keeping a great number of male concubines, and that Nero married a young man, whom he then had castrated to preserve his youthful qualities. The act of penetrative sex between males was inextricably connected with the active man's power and prowess, and men being the passive partner was considered scandalous and humiliating. For example, Julius Caesar was accused of having a sexual connection with King Nicomedes of Bithynia while visiting the Bithynian court. His enemies dubbed him the Queen of Bithynia because he was said to be a passive sexual companion. Even when Caesar returned to Rome after conquering Gaul, he could not escape the rumors, and the chant "Caesar laid Gaul low, but Nicomedes laid Caesar low" rang out at his triumphal procession. There is little information available about same-sex relationships between Roman women. Although they probably happened, the Romans didn't write about it, because to them, sex involved penetration. It's likely that the Romans didn't consider sexual acts between women to actually be sex, unlike the penetrative activities between two men. In summary, homosexuality in ancient Rome was as much about communications of power and status than it was about attraction and emotion, with sex as a vehicle to exercise privilege and dominance. The civil freedoms of a Roman citizen allowed him to engage in such relations with any man lower in society than him, whilst demonstrating his virility and ability to conquer others. It translates so directly to displays of power that Roman men were even known to orally abuse their rivals to express their superiority over them whilst ridiculing the victim. The case of Caesar shows elite men were targets for slander from others for being a passive partner, and it could damage a man's political reputation. Thanks for watching the video. Kindly subscribe and check out more content on our channel.